confronting him. Doors are open. Oh, squeaked right by there. You know, we know from watching so many of these that we got to talk about this parking lot real quick. You know, if he would bump that officer, if he would have hit that door, that would have been considered lethal force. That could have turned into something completely different. Look at him working his way right through that, right there, coming back onto Van Nuys Boulevard. That's going to be Sherman Way right there, and making a turn. Eastbound Sherman, he said eastbound Sherman Way, I believe we're westbound Sherman Way. But it's all good. It has been that kind of confusing. We've been doing pirouettes, we've been turning around. This guy using all the streets, wrong way, Sherman Way at this time of the afternoon. And his pursuit continues on out here. We're going to be working our way towards the 405 freeway, definitely in the Van Nuys area. And you can see this car not slowing down. Sepulveda Boulevard is going to be the next major. So much traffic, so many other people. I am just amazed nobody's been hurt so far.
Stu, and as far as we know, just one person in that car?
You know, great question, Juan. When he stopped at that Ralph's, I was really kind of curious. It was the first moments we got to look at that vehicle. I saw the door close. I really wanted to see if there was a passenger. Unclear. All we do know is that the driver behind the wheel, taking so many chances with other people's lives, he might as well be doing it with somebody else's in that car as well. But right now, we only know that driver of the vehicle swerving, weaving, hitting the brakes, and look at all the traffic. Anybody that drives in the valley knows right now is the time when it's really, really packed. Sepulveda Boulevard, that's where we're going to be in just a moment as he continues to weave around out here. He's going to be taking Sepulveda Boulevard to the north, cutting somebody else off right there. So many close calls, and it just continues.
Drew, this driver really has been so aggressive this afternoon. We've been seeing this unfold over the last few minutes or so. A driver of a Chevy Volt, possibly a stolen vehicle, is what we first heard. You can see they're running intersections on what is considered a very busy afternoon here in the San Fernando Valley. Take a look at the screen earlier. This is what we were talking about earlier when we believed that the driver was going to get out of his car at a Ralph's because he thought that he had eluded police.
Yeah, this is a Ralph's parking lot there in the Van Nuys early area, and you can see LAPD right on his tail, and he backs up. He just puts it in reverse, going pretty quickly through that parking lot, and again gets around LAPD. So he's just been zooming by the LAPD officers. And Stu, I know you've covered so many of these pursuits, but this one sounds like it's even shocking you.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me how lucky some people are and how scary these moments can be, even though we see them so often. This is going to be Raymer from Sepulveda. That's the turn he just made. Raymer takes us into a more industrial area. I think this is still going to be the Van Nuys area, but it's a more industrial. But this street, I know it very well, has a lot of dips and bumps in it, a lot of curves over here as well. It's going to take him back out onto Kester if he continues these big sweeping turns out here. Kind of slowing down, making that turn right there, and it's going to take us back onto Kester right there. So he's back onto Kester right now, wrong side of the road once more, getting a little bit wider look. Yep, we are on Kester for sure. And the next major is going to be Satakoy as we continue on out here. Whoa, another really sharp turn right there. Whoa, fishtailing a little bit, almost hit another car. You know, this, these electric vehicles, I can't say right off the bat, but a lot of times there's four electric motors on each one of those wheels. So there's 4 motors in there running that car. So that's kind of like an all-wheel drive, which really adds to performance, something that they don't really talk about because, whoa! Oh, definitely got air there, and he kind of lost control when he hit the ground. So very dangerous. This continues on out here, hitting those hard brakes, trying to put himself into another cul-de-sac. Officers from LAPD right there behind him. This time he has got no place to go. This is going to be a pretty interesting little trying to push his way out. Hit that door right into into an officer's vehicle.
They got to block him in now,
he's kind of boxed in. Definitely, and you can see that officer vehicle starting to steam. Now, they've got their guns out on this one. It's probably some officers less than lethal, other ones not so much. The brakes that you see, the smoke that you see from the car behind the officer, that's going to be the brakes. The smoke you see from that car that you see with the shop number, that's that number on the roof, 374, that's going to be the radiator. Now, that car, his car stopped as well, unsure how that's going to go because it's an electric vehicle. Don't know if he can still make that move. Number of weapons trained on this guy right now. Not sure what that driver's doing. I can kind of sort of see that he's got his hands, it looks like he's got his hands up. We're going to do some magic here with the camera. Just give us 1 second. but they're asking for less than lethal right now, asking for less than lethal force. So they're going to try to maybe blow that window out. That car just kind of stopped right now as this comes to an end at a cul-de-sac off of near Kester and Raymer.
Yeah, Stu, it looked like he had one of his hands, one on the wheel and one lifted up. So definitely right now what we're going to see is what he will do next. It looks like it's somebody in a black T-shirt, one person in the car, and a lot of officers with guns pointed right at him to see what he will do next.
Yeah, we know this is a man who had no regard for other life when he was out there driving around. Let's hope that he makes the right decision here, because we know there are a number of LAPD officers surrounding this vehicle right now. And they're out of their cars and they have their guns pointed right at this guy.
There's some of those officers you just mentioned, Sandra. That one rifle right there with the green stock, that's going to be a less than lethal type of weapon right there, possibly a beanbag or a stun bag, depending upon what kind of rounds he has in there. They may use those to blow out the windows on that car as well. These other officers, they have their weapons out right now. This is a very dangerous situation. Like you said, Sandra, this person may or may not be armed, but he's definitely been playing with a lot of people's lives this afternoon, slammed directly into that officer's vehicle right there, using all the might of the camera on Sky 9 this afternoon to get as close a shot as we can of that suspect. Kind of a little bit of eclipse. Appears that he may be on the phone right now, but this guy driving recklessly, taking so many people's lives in his own hands this afternoon. Definitely one person in the vehicle. It seems to be a white male, kind of a little bit stressed out now. You can just kind of tell by his attitude, the way he's moving around down there. I would guess no telephone, but it does seem that he is very agitated right now. Officers from the LAPD not too concerned about him having a weapon, as they are this close to that vehicle. If that vehicle tries to put it into drive, he's got no place to go. Totally boxed in. You can see another officer's vehicle right there, backed into that car. And right now he is pinned in as he hit another cruiser. This all coming to an end out here in the Van Nuys area. Wild pursuit. Not over yet, as that suspect's still in that vehicle refusing to get out.
And it's a good thing, Stu, that this did end in a more industrial type area, not in a neighborhood. We saw him blowing through small streets that had speed bumps. He really didn't care where he was going, and going so quickly with such little room for error. If he would have taken one of those quick turns, there could have been anybody there getting out of their car, crossing the street. This could have ended a lot worse than it has right now. But as you see there, officers with their guns drawn on the left side of your screen there, and apparently they're trying to negotiate with him to at some point step out of the car. We saw him, it appeared like he was on the phone for just a little bit, but he was moving his arms around, looking a little bit agitated. There on the right side of your screen, this is the exact moment where the car was boxed in by the LAPD and left this driver with nowhere else to go. And obviously damage to both the police car and damage to the Volt.
So, yeah, we can see these cars aren't going anywhere. The driver refusing to give up at this point. Stu, kind of walk us through what's going on for those officers, because this is a guy who was trying at all costs to get away from them, and now they don't know if he's armed or not.
Well, you know, these officers are assuming that this person playing on their cautioning, using their best judgment. There you go, with what's going on right now. Just by their stance and the way the situation is, I would guess that they would believe that this person not armed. They would be a little bit farther away if they would believe that this person had a weapon, meaning a gun. He may have something else inside the vehicle that he may use as a weapon. This car was a weapon earlier on. We did see him get away with so many close calls, but in the end, he did collide head-on into an officer's SUV right there. Now, the two of these officers right there have less than lethal weapons out. You can tell by the green stocks right there. One of them having a beanbag, that would be that rifle. But the rest of those officers, those are guns. And of course, they're going to keep an eye on this person. I know that they were concerned about civilians in the area, in that parking lot, in that industrial area. They were actually telling other people to get out of the way, to stay out of what they would say crossfire situation. If the weapons were discharged, they don't want those bullets to go through that vehicle, injuring anybody else. So right now it is more of a standoff type of situation. They are talking about getting other units into the area, but this guy right now not getting out of the car. Actually, it appears that what he's doing is not looking at those officers, which is an unusual type of situation, looking the other direction. These officers taking cover behind some doors right there, but they are working their way closer. They're going to be a little bit aggressive. They probably want to bring this to an end as quickly as everybody else does. There's another officer right there with another less than lethal weapon. So these guys want to take this guy into custody, the suspect into custody this afternoon without injuring any officers or that suspect right now. But it's kind of a standoff as he's refusing to get out of that vehicle after that collision. That car probably could go if it could, but right now it is really wedged in there between two law enforcement vehicles, so it is not going anywhere. But right now it is more of a standoff than anything else.
And Stu, the officer who was in that patrol car that was hit head-on by the Chevy Volt, do we know if that officer got out?
He most definitely got out there. I actually saw him kind of pop that door open and stumble off, running out of the way. That was a move because, again, they don't know if that person had a weapon. They would want to bring this to an end. Right now, this officer going to push out the window. There you go. They want to bring this thing to an end and use it. There you go. They're already shooting those beanbags at him. They may be, they may have pepper in there or some type of chemicals that may, you know, are going to work in a way that will be irritating. Here we go, another window. He's telling them, get out of the way. You're going to get some broken glass. Open that door. Boom! There you go. And there you go. Now the door opens up real well. And that suspect being helped out of the vehicle this afternoon as they're bringing this pursuit to an end.
Yeah, it looks like the suspect's going to be taken into custody, but boy, he did not go willingly. This was a very dangerous pursuit. Hopefully that officer who he hit head-on was not injured, but we know that officer is out of the car, and it looks like the suspect is headed off to jail.
Indeed, that is the case, and it appears nobody else is inside the car. The suspect now in handcuffs, and of course we saw him just moments ago appearing to be very agitated, not wanting to get out of the car. It was basically a standoff between him and the LAPD. The LAPD making their first move, smashing out the back window of the car. Still, the driver refused to get out of the car. The LAPD then smashed the driver's side window and now have pulled him out of the car. He's in handcuffs, and obviously they're talking to him there, bringing an end to this pretty intense pursuit, pretty high-speed pursuit.
It was really intense. Just unbelievable that there weren't any more accidents, because we saw this guy just flying through the streets of the valley. Stu, I saw one of the officers just pat the other officer on the back as if to say, good job. And I think a lot of people are relieved at the way this one ended.
Oh, most definitely. You know, LAPD, these guys, they're human beings just like anybody else. They wanted to bring this to an end, didn't want to turn it into some long drawn-out thing. That one officer, you saw it. He used that baton to bust out those windows, and, you know, it brought it to an end. That type of force is what sometimes you need to take a suspect into custody without turning this into, like, some drawn-out situation. It looks to be a very young guy that they're taking into custody this afternoon, so I'm kind of curious if that stolen vehicle may have been a relative. But nevertheless, this guy was really a menace on the roads out here this afternoon. Good thing he's in custody and nobody was injured.
Yeah, and speaking of menace, Stu, right now on the right side of your screen, we're showing what the pursuit was like at the height of it. You can see here the driver going into opposite lanes of traffic, making a hard right, and just speeding at very high rates of speed here right now in the center lane right there. You can see he had very little regard to the motoring public or to any pedestrians who are out there walking around in the San Fernando Valley. And there were several times that we really thought that he would pull over and things would come to an end. We showed just a short time ago when the driver pulled into a Ralph's parking lot. It looked like he was going to get out of the car. The LAPD showed up, and then the driver backed out of the parking lot and continued this pursuit. Just a short time ago, the driver was in a more industrial area and made his way into a cul-de-sac. He tried to get away, but the LAPD boxed him in, and that's where you see right now on the left side of your screen where we are right now live. The suspect, the driver, now in custody, and the LAPD, of course, trying to figure out exactly why this driver ran.
And Stu Mundell is overhead in Sky 9. Stu, one of the wildest pursuits we've seen in quite a while.
Well, you know what? It ended out here. I've been trying to get that information, just getting it from our desk. They rock. This is at Keswick and Burnett. Keswick, I believe, is a cul-de-sac. That suspect laying down right now, you know, and on his own will. You can see him kind of rolling around out there. Gosh only knows why. This person may be on some medications for all we know, but basically probably adrenaline for some time. And then we did see them use a beanbag round on him, so they are calling for an ambulance. And right now, that suspect in cuffs, sitting next to that vehicle. Officers right now starting to ask him some questions. Probably the things we were asking. Why? Is probably what they're asking right now. But they do have an ambulance on the way. They did hit him with one beanbag round when he refused to get out of that vehicle. It was some dramatic moments at the end there as well. The Ralph's thing was something really interesting to see. Never saw something like that before. The officers basically pulling up on the vehicle. He jumped back in and backed out of the Ralph's to keep the pursuit going. That happened at the corner of Burbank and Van Nuys. Then coming to an end out here with that suspect slamming head on into an officer's vehicle right there. Then a standoff until one of the officers used one of their pedons to bust out the windows. And one of the less than lethal rounds was fired at that suspect sitting in that vehicle. That's just a beanbag. I'm sure it is very painful, but it would not cause any kind of death. And then he still refused to get out. They busted out the driver's window, and now you see him in custody right there. Maybe starting to feel some of that pain from that beanbag round, but definitely an ambulance is on the way. Officers are going to go through his pockets, get his IDs, and etc. That suspect in custody, coming to an end out here at Keswick and Burnett industrial area, probably in the, more specifically, I would say we're just on the edge of the North Hills area.
Yeah, Stu, it ended at Keswick and Burnett. It actually started on the westbound Ventura Boulevard near Balboa. I understand the driver apparently was going to get onto the 101 freeway, saw there was way too much traffic, so then he kept it onto the city streets there in the San Fernando Valley. When he approached the 101 freeway, that was near Balboa at Magnolia, he continued there for just a little while, but then stayed again on local streets at very high rates of speed, and he stayed pretty much in one particular area before moving off into a more industrial area, and that's where this pursuit came to an end. And luckily this afternoon, other than perhaps some minor side swipes, we didn't see any during the pursuit, but luckily no one was hurt, no children were hurt, especially on a night like tonight where it is Halloween, and I know young kids like to go out trick-or-treating earlier. It's a little less scary for them, and luckily this ended with no injuries.
Stu, it's also possible that the driver was injured when he had that head-on collision, because that was a pretty good hit with that cruiser.
Well, Sandra, you know, it probably looked very dramatic. The only thing I can say to that effect is we didn't see the airbags deploy on that vehicle, and I'm sure that this one is a newer vehicle. I'm sure it is filled with it. It would have looked like it was filled with popcorn if it had been hit very hard. But we don't even see any of those airbags gone off right there. We're seeing a little bit more of that car and the damage where it hit that officer's vehicle. The officer's vehicle may have had more damage because we saw all that steam coming out of the car. I'm sure the radiator was damaged. Right now they're still asking about the ETA for that ambulance. Seems to be a very young guy. I can't say, you know, the exact age, but I would guess this person is still very young. And, you know, I'm just really curious. Well, we probably, these are the things we never really get the answer to, but I'm really curious what the whole deal was to begin with. Stolen vehicle, was it a relative's vehicle? Was it an actual stolen vehicle? A Volt is an unusual car for sure. Just to see on the road, not that unusual, but as a stolen vehicle is something I have never yet seen. Right now, though, officers from LAPD still out here in force. These are all the guys that were in tracking mode earlier on when that helicopter overhead was doing that amazing job calling out those streets and keeping an eye on all these other officers out there as this guy was making his way through the San Fernando Valley, through those neighborhoods where Juan brought up it was so dangerous. Halloween, these are residential neighborhoods. This guy's doing 80 down these side streets. It was very, very tense moments just for us.
All right, Stu, we are going to reset. We're going to take a quick break. KCAL 9 News at 4. We'll be right back.